So now I'm going to dive into the actual applications. And the first thing I'll show is a GPS coverage test. So, and this gives a chance to look at some things. So in the M2X API, you have first a list of devices, and then you can dive down into each particular device. And each device is going to have its own ID and key that you use in the at the head end to actually push data into the M2X system, or change triggers, for example. You can do all of it kind of remotely and programmatically using these keys through the M2X interface, REST interface. Each device is considered to have streams, triggers, location, which could be multiple locations like waypoints in the case of GPS, and charts and data exports. So I'll just drag down. Not surprisingly, this device hasn't been moving around, so what you see is the on-ramp headquarters or Ingenu headquarters, and lat long, and I've used the elevation field to just display the receive signal strength of the GPS coverage tool. So basically, the coverage tool sends at a 5-second rate, and in the middleware, one thing I do is decimate at a 5-minute rate, so that I don't kind of overflow M2X, because M2X really only handles about 30 of these waypoints. GPS doesn't have stream data in particular. It's just location data that's being changed. So it's a little different than some of these other devices, as I'll show you. If you go to a serial text device, what we have here is a Chrome application that enables us to send text up to M2X. And I'll just display this. So here's some example text that went over the past few days, and I'll just type something. And so what's happened is we talked to the serial port of the rACM. Now the data is going over the air into M2X, and I'm going to point out here something that M2X supports triggers. And these triggers, in this case, I have a trigger set up on serial, and the kind of configuration is when there's a change, when there's any change, post to this URL, and this URL happens to be the VM where the middleware is running. So the text, after it's received by M2X, is going to get turned around and posted to this URL, and then the middleware is going to turn around and send that back down to the node. And so actually we can see now in the Chrome app that it went over the air back down to the node and came out the serial port of the node. And we can see that it prepended this kind of custom data that was up in the M2X website. So that's the way the serial communications can actually be looped back using M2X to our device. There's really no other way in M2X to actually verify round-trip communication. Going back to the devices page now, you can see there's a intrusion detector. So this is an example where it takes a digital input, and it's just this switch, which I'm going to press, and it's just been graphing that kind of a switch versus time, and that could be a door switch, or a light beam that's broken, or any other kind of a sensor that would tell you there an intrusion took place. And then the rACM, one thing that's powerful about it is it supports multiple sensors on a single device. So you can see in this case, the rACM processor temperature is also being sent up as another stream in M2X. So this is a one single device that has multiple streams. This is processor temperature in degrees C, historically, and then right now we can see that the intrusion arrived. I believe that's the one we just sent, but could be still in process. From here, this device has a trigger as well, and so it can generate an alarm data, which through the middleware could be turned into a text to alert a person. that there's been a condition exceeded, like the doors open, you know, intrusion detected, and we prototype all that stuff. All that stuff works. There's one more application I'll show just very briefly. This just shows, this is called a 4 to 20 milliamp analog sensor, and our rACM board converts those readings into temperature and relative humidity. So again, this is a chart of temperature versus relative humidity, or temperature and relative humidity versus time, and it's been going for days and days, so you can see kind of the history of relative humidity in my office.